This viral mimic video of somebody hearing their mom call out their name when their mom is not home has a darker context to it that makes it so much scarier, and I haven't seen anyone talking about this.
Gabe? Gabe, it's your mom. You should come out. You've been there for so long. Gabe? Gabe, it's your mother. You should come out.
Then what's your name then?
The video was posted in 2023 by TikTok user Stuck in a Fake Reality. And after this experience, whatever this thing was apparently came back. This time using a different but equally familiar voice.
Gabe, come out. Watch some scary movies. Got some Scream 3 ready to go. What are you doing in there, dude? It's been almost a month.
Look at us born.
Now, all of these posts are hashtagged with ARG, aka alternate reality game, so it's safe to say that Gabe is not claiming that any of this is actually real, but I've heard it circling with a theory that it happened in the Appalachian Mountains, that it's a mimic, while the true story is a little bit weirder, because whatever this was, it basically found Gabe in the back rooms. Stay spooky, friends.
It's not uncommon for content creators to add a tag like game or LARP to videos. It's a great way to try to save face and avoid the potential ridicule that they're going to naturally receive when they post anything online. It's also a way for them to get past some of the security measures and talk about things that perhaps would otherwise get them shadow banned or deleted. There are some conspiracy talk channels that do exactly that. They try to talk about quote unquote real-world conspiracies, but they make sure to apply the word LARP to every video so as to try to avoid the censors. I don't know if I would say that this video is real. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's not, but it does bring in a fun topic, one that I do take seriously, and that's the topic of mimics. I thought it was interesting that she pointed out that this video may have come from the Appalachian Mountain area. Growing up around that area myself, I've encountered mimics, or what I believe to be. One example, it's very common, and this has happened to me a few times, where I will see my missus. She'll be walking down a hallway, or one time she even poked her head around a corner to say something to me, only to come and find out a few minutes later that she is somewhere totally different, that there was no way that that was her. I think it's interesting that she mentions the back rooms at the end of this video. I'm not sure how that pertains to this video, but the back rooms is definitely an interesting topic, and we'll make sure to cover it in future videos. One thing I wanted to add on this one, it really stood out to me that she asked the mimic what her mother's name is. I think that was an extremely clever question to ask, as clearly the mimic didn't know the answer, and it proved that it wasn't her mother there. I don't think that was a preconceived thing. That did come off as a in the heat of the moment, thinking on her feet type of question, and frankly, I think was a very smart move. It does lead me to lean towards this video being real. But what do you think? Let me know. Is this a real video? Did she actually encounter a mimic? Or is this just another hoax or parody?
A giant man, one of the soldiers would later estimate as being at least 12 feet tall, came lumbering out into the daylight and attacked the waiting soldiers with no hesitation whatsoever. Before they truly had a chance to ready themselves, the giant lunged with a monstrous spear that he held in his hand, killing one of the soldiers as it ran him clean through. The giant rounded on the rest of the group as they opened fire in unison. Despite the fact that they were kitted out with M4 assault rifles and other high-level armaments, they claim it took half a minute of constant and sustained fire before the giant was taken down and slain. And after the bullets had stopped flying and the massive monstrosity was put down, they had a chance to fully inspect it. They estimated it was somewhere between 12 to 15 feet tall, about 3.5 to 4.5 meters, and had 6 digits on each hand. Which, interestingly, if you didn't know, 6 fingers is the dominant gene of the body, 5 fingers is recessive genes. So it's kind of interesting. But with the shock of red hair on his head and throughout his beard, it had a double set of teeth hardly ever seen in humans, and had used animal hides to clothe itself and cover its feet. the body stank as well of death and decay. There was no mention of what had happened to the remains of the first patrol, and the story seems to imply that the giant or his kin had at least killed and possibly eaten them. According to the soldiers, the body alongside their fallen companion was taken back to base and then spirited away to a location unknown, and they were forbidden from ever talking about it again. A promise that at least one of them didn't keep, since we are discussing the story here today. So before we get into the ins and outs of exactly how plausible this specific story is, it is worth thinking about it in a wider context. While there are many tales of giants from around the world, have any of them ever been proven to be completely true, or have they all been, at best, exaggerations? Let's look at arguably the most famous depiction of a giant in a historical context, David versus Goliath in the Bible. This is a tale that has survived into the modern times, with an encounter between a plucky but heavily outmatched opponent and an established powerhouse, especially one that would normally be expected to end up winning, being described as David and Goliath's battle. The story goes that the young shepherd David took on and killed the monstrous champion of the Philistines when none of the Israelite soldiers were brave enough to even try.
This is the Afghan giant story that I had mentioned in a previous episode. I think it's interesting that the giant stories always seem to have the same traits: extra digits on their hands, an extra row of teeth, red hair, cannibalism, if you can call it that. They eat people. I think that there is perhaps something to this story. It's been circulating for a little while now. I don't know how credible we can really call it, but it doesn't surprise me, if the military gets involved in any kind of operation like that, they're not going to tell us about it. They're probably going to ship the giant's dead body off to Wright-Patterson Base here in Ohio to be studied. The story of David and Goliath is particularly entertaining to me. After I've watched a couple of videos of professional sling throwers, I would argue that David brought a gun to that sword fight. And it's no surprise that it only took one shot to the head to drop Goliath.
Something really odd started happening after the eclipse.
I don't know why that's happening right now. I'm using a welding mask. What is happening right now? Putting my phone on the welding mask, so I don't know if it's like electromagnetic energy coming at us right now, being pulsed. That is so weird. I am so confused.
And it all started with this mysterious black shadow that was seen crossing the sky in Mexico, West United States, and East United States. It was seen in many different parts in the same date, in the same time.
What did my husband catch while zoomed in?
So a lot of people are saying that this mysterious black shadow is just a shadow of a plane, a satellite, or something like that, but I guess this is not what's going on here. This might actually be something else entirely. This video, for instance, was recorded in New Jersey and uploaded recently.
Yo no sé qué fue lo que cayó, si fue un murciélago, lo que yo sé que cayó algo del cielo. Fíjense bien el video. Wow, digo, como no sé, y se desapareció.
The best footage taken of this anomaly was actually captured in Texas, and I've shown you guys this one before, but I guess this is a very clear one, and whatever this thing is, you can see it's projected into the clouds. A shadow person, an invisible drone, an alien-like craft, whatever this thing is, no one knows. But it gets weirder. A few days later, an anomaly shows up on satellite data. An anomaly as big as a country, with 80-foot waves being projected from this anomaly. The same way it appears, the same way it disappears out of nowhere. An official note was released saying that this is just a glitch in the satellite data, but I've never seen anything like this before. What kind of anomaly would project this into the satellite data? Strange, right? Then, this cloud, this anomaly in the sky shows up in China. Very similar to the anomaly that's seen in the satellite data, isn't it? I mean, what's going on here? Then, a couple of days later, in Peru, this starts happening with the ocean water in Chancay Beach.
Ve, sigue hirviendo más esto, miren, ve, señores. Mira, ve, la playa del puerto de Chancay. Hoy 18 de abril, siendo las 6:20. Ha habido una grieta así que se ha abierto y mira, ha colapsado esto, como hierve, como aguas calientes, hervidas así. Y sigue aumentando.
Up until now, authorities and experts have no idea why the water is boiling in Chancay Beach. I mean, this isn't normal. But is it correlated, or is there any connection with these recent events after the eclipse? I don't know. You tell me, what do you think is really going on?
We had a perfect view of the eclipse from my backyard, so we were able to stand and just observe it in full totality, and I gotta say, it was spectacular. It was definitely breathtaking. Those welding mask flashes were particularly curious. I would really like to know what was causing that. Since the eclipse, I have seen a lot of videos and chatter from people saying that the sun has changed, that it's changing color or changing intensity. A lot of sun gazers in particular have been reporting this. It's not something I've noticed myself, but I don't spend as much time staring at the sun to have really observed much difference before and after. If I were to guess, I do think that our government is up to something up there, but I couldn't tell you what. I find that anomaly to be very interesting. Although they said it was a glitch, I guess it's appeared again. And there's been a lot of really strange stuff in the ocean over the years, including a lot of stuff that alludes to some very, very large creature living under the water. If you've heard things like the recordings that were picked up, or that shark that was drugged down to the depths and bit in half. I think there's definitely a lot in our ocean that we have yet to discover, and it makes me wonder if this anomaly might be one of those things. This is the first I've heard mention of any shadows, though. While UFOs are not an uncommon thing, the shadows in that video were strange. They weren't like typical UFOs that I've seen. So I am curious, what do you guys think? Is the sun changed? Is it the same? And has anyone else noticed those shadows? Let me know in the comments.
This can't be real, but it is. The president of Ukraine wants Marina Abramovich to be an ambassador for Ukraine to help rebuild schools. Like, there's no even trying to hide it at this point. If you don't know who she is, you need to look up spirit cooking.
This video is a little bit darker. This woman is into some really nasty stuff. If you aren't familiar with Maria Abramovich, I highly recommend looking into spirit cooking. While you and I might have a different opinion on heaven and our creators, our elites, Hollywood, the heads and captains of industry, they believe wholeheartedly in heaven and hell, and they've chosen hell. It makes me wonder, what are they doing behind the scenes? When they have that kind of faith in evil, it makes me feel more resolved to find faith in good. I think this woman is most likely connected to Epstein, and I think anything she touches is going to turn to ash. The fact that she was asked to participate as an ambassador in Ukraine is very concerning. And it also adds even more credibility to her being the witch behind the elites. If you've seen Game of Thrones, she's Melisandre, the Red Witch.
I give to you the future theater and final for this year.
Wanted to end today on a lighter note. I thought I'd share this video that I came across on Facebook. I love combat sports, especially those that involve a sword. I participate in them myself regularly, but I've never seen anyone do it with this much style. Not only were they able to swing with high intensity as they were wearing kits of full plate and brigandine, but the element of fire on his helmet and his sword, oh, that is just cool. So I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you for joining me today. Please remember to like and comment. If you have any specific videos that you want me to cover, or if you have any topics you want me to explore, just let me know. See you next time.